goals are to have is to change the world, as Shanae said, to maybe change the world, maybe even save the world the way it's going right now. I think emotional intelligence is magical, and the effects that it's having in day-to-day life and in business and in education and in families and homes and government, et cetera, is just amazing. And so I wanted to talk some more about that. So, let me give me just a second. I'm trying to get the video as well, or I mean the conference as well. I'm not seeing it. There it is. Okay. Okay, great. All right. Anyway, so I can't see the questions, and as you guys, this is how I don't. You can interrupt anytime, and as if there's anything in the chat or into the Q&A, please let me know, and feel free to interrupt anytime.
I will.
Going through. Okay, thanks.
I will.
Great, thank you. So, teeny bit on the science of EQ. Dr. Davidson gave a great picture, and I was trying to, I'll probably steal it later and use it, because on the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, that's actually how the brain works. What I use is this one, this graphic, and I have a whole bunch, I collect them. There's a whole bunch of right brain, left brain graphics to do with how our brain works. The left being the cognitive knowledge, information, parallel processing side of our brain, and the right brain being our passionate, feeling, sensing, creative side of our brain. And I just think this is a great picture to depict to non-pros that what's possible and how it works. And your brain is very definitely split into the two sides like this. It's sort of left brain, right brain. Scientifically, it's more accurate the way she depicted it. But when I'm giving this to kids and to civilians, as they call it sometimes, they are. This is a good way to put it. So. What it boils down to is that our society and our education system is very much left brain focused. And what we're trying to do, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's great that we have phenomenal technology. We have medical advances, which, by the way, are saving my life in particular. And our daughter's having a baby next week, and I'm so glad that we are as smart as we are and as medically accurate as we are, et cetera. And what I'm suggesting is that, and I assume all of you, is that we add right brain information to that. We add the magical art of how cool our right brain can be and the emotions can be if we add to our left brain intelligence. So I'm not going to get too much more into the science of it, but I have tons and tons of information. I had a hard time putting this PowerPoint together because I have so much information. It's hard to sum it up, but you probably know a bunch about the science, so I'm not going to go much into that. But let's talk about the art of EQ, which is what I'm basically saying is that art. I think it's the next slide. The art of EQ is that you can't not feel and you can't not think. So this is the most practical subject there is. It affects every one of us every second of every day for the rest of our days. And so we better be good at it. We better get good at it. So there's an art to it. There's the right brain is our artistic side, and that's what we're trying to add to the science side. So let's talk about that. Because we have some issues with emotion, with low EQ, we have a number of social problems. Some of these are documented, some I kind of surmised by myself, but check this out. Look at some of these things that are created in our world because we are not very EQ savvy in our life, in our education, in our families, in our parenting. We just don't know very much about EQ yet. And this is some of the things that are happening because of that. There's a lot of problems going on that are based mostly or predominantly or significantly on that we don't have very good EQ. Violence, abuse, addiction, divorce, suicide, anxiety, depression, hatred, a lot of mental health issues. Some of them are clinically based, and that's cool. Some of them are science based, and and the medication is helpful for that. And I'm not saying don't do that. What I'm saying is that there's a whole lot we can do as a human to learn more about our EQ and to help our mental health. And there's a lot of things that are not going well because we don't know that. A lot of crimes are based on low EQ. Gangs are about family and connection and safety and togetherness. And some of those that if people knew more about EQ, they would probably have less of that. And studies are showing now that a whole bunch of our physical health as an adult, I was going to put it in here, a slide in here, but there was an amazing study done by Kaiser over the last bunch of years called the ACE study, ACE. You might look it up, ace.org or acestudy.org. They did like 170,000 people, because as you may know, Kaiser has a kind of an audience that you don't have much choice, but they asked people what were some of the things that happened to you as a child. Some of the ACE stands for adverse childhood experiences. And things like your parents got divorced, there was violence in the home, somebody in your family is in prison, somebody had addiction problems, these same kind of issues that happen here. So as a child, these events happened to you, or issues were in your home, you grew up this way as a kid. What kind of physical ailments have resulted from that? And they've found a direct correlation between the more bad stuff that happened to you as a kid has created more bad stuff that's happening in your body as an adult. And they're linking the emotions to our physical health in amazing ways. There's tons and tons of studies about that now, more and more, because they're just shocked, and people are getting your attention, because as you know, medical is such an incredible expense and one of the worst things that's happened to us. So there's a ton going on in that area. I don't know if anybody disagree with that. I mean, there's a direct correlation, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion. Does anybody disagree with that? Go ahead and put it in the chat if you like. All right. So the next biggest one is wait. Let me check the chat here. All right. Yeah, you agree. Great. Thanks. The next biggest one is probably the biggest one is war. The war is based on people not knowing how to get along, people not knowing how to have some empathy and compassion for their neighbors, people not being able to share resources, etc. And I believe that if we can teach EQ to folks, then we will have a lot less war, and which would be, as you know, a wonderful thing. So here's the key to the whole thing, in my opinion. This is how emotional intelligence can really help. And that is to teach emotional responsibility. And what that means to me, and what that means is, and we're teaching kids this, and it takes about 3 seconds if you do it right, to tell people that their thoughts and their emotions are theirs. People do not make us angry. We make ourselves angry. I love to say that to people, like, no one's ever made you angry. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? I'm angry right now. I said, yeah, but it's not, they didn't make you angry. You made you angry. They did what they did, but how you took that, the thoughts that you had about that, the experiences you've had, the meanings that you placed on that, that's what made you feel angry. Your thoughts make you feel angry. And the good news, the super, super good news about all this is that you can change it. You can affect your thoughts. You can change your thoughts. You can have your thoughts change your feelings, and you can become angry pretty much anytime you want to. So Emotional responsibility is the key to the whole thing. And I have a slide on this more in depth later, but I'm not sure if I put it right in here. But anyway, I'll talk about more of that later. But emotional, I've done a whole bunch of EQ trainings. Like I said, I've been teaching it for 30-something years. And I've done a bunch on YouTube. You can look up my name on YouTube. And they're half-hour videos, most of them that I did with the local cable channel here. And they, on every single one of them, I say emotional responsibility is the key. So if people can get this one grasp, this one thing, that your thoughts and your feelings are yours, that changes everything, because without it, you are kind of a whiner, blamer victim, right? You're not in control of your life. Dr. Richardson mentioned about being a blamer, and that it's true. If they did it to me, if they made me feel this way, then there's not much I can do about it. It's them. So take responsibility. Here's how it all starts. Victor, I don't know if you guys know who Viktor Frankl was. He was in a concentration camp in World War II, and he watched people and found that there was a difference between some of the ones who survived and some who did not, or they survived, but they were a mess. And he found that between stimulus and response, right, which means the outside, what happens to you outside versus what happens to you inside, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Choose being the operative word there. Choose, choose, choose. That means if they're ours, if they're my thoughts and my feelings, I get to choose them, right? And that's one of the magics of EQ, and I'm going to talk more about that because it's the key to the whole thing. We get to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. I love this quote. There's one of the biggest EQ trainers in the world is called 6seconds.org. I don't know if you've heard of them. They have taught something like 300,000 people EQ so far. No, more than that. Anyway, way more than that. That's how many they're planning on teaching this year. Actually, next month. They have they're working with the UN, and they have volunteers go in. Whoever, if you guys want to, can sign up for it. Is that you can, and I can put it in the chat, but it's 6sec.org/Universal Children's Day. Boom, that link, go there. You can, they give you materials, and you can go teach anybody, and it's kids, adults, at work, at home, teach your mom, teach your kid, teach your parents, teach anybody about EQ. And it's real cool. They do different subjects by quarter, and they're working with UN, like I said, and they're planning on doing, they have 2,000 people have volunteered to give one of these, and they are at about 300,000 people will be taking these, and they did 170,000 in 90 countries last year. Kind of thing. It's just phenomenal what they're doing, and it is changing the world, in my opinion. And this is how we need to do it. We need to educate people on EQ, and that's what I'm all jumping up and down about. So they're very simple concepts. They are not easy. Put it that way. They're very, very simple concepts. Some of them are not easy. Sometimes EQ can be one of the hardest stuff you ever deal with. Your feelings, your deep feelings, your big emotions are very difficult to deal, or are not difficult, excuse me. Yeah, difficult. They're not easy to deal with, but they're very simple, right? They're really, really simple. So anyway, let me go on. There we go. Okay, so here's some of these. I thought we're working with kids and teens and adults and trying to sum stuff up really, really simply. So I try to make things into hashtags and real simple, memorable ways of remembering it. Behind every behavior, this is the most responsibility part, every behavior is at least one thought and at least one feeling. I think most people know that they have thoughts behind their behaviors. They think of something, then they do it. But they don't know is that there's at least one feeling also, and that the feeling sometimes, as Dr. Davidson said, is the feeling often comes first before the thought. Sometimes it's the other way around, in my opinion, but medically, I guess, and physically, your feeling comes first or faster. So regardless, there's one thought and a feeling. And if you don't know about your feeling, you are not working with all the information that your body is giving you. You are not working with all the information that that you have available to you to make the best decisions that you can. So again, pay attention to your feelings, learn about EQ, and you have better behaviors, better thoughts, better decisions, get better results in your life, have more friends, have more family, have more love, have more, do better at work, get along with your boss, get promoted. They say that, that getting the job, you can get a job with IQ, but you get promoted and you keep your job with EQ. So again, pushing this subject hard. So feel it to heal it. I'll talk some more about that because that's the name of this topic, and it's a life changer for the whole thing. Emotional responsibility is a key. Like I said, name it to tame it. Okay, what about your feelings? Name them. Name them. What are you feeling? A lot of people, you know, I feel awful today. What does that mean? What more specifically? Name it. What are you feeling? Is it sad? Is it angry? Is it depressed? Is it afraid? What is it? Name it, because then you can deal with it. Feeling lousy, it doesn't give you enough information to do anything with it. You just feel lousy, so I'm going to go have a beer, right? Well, that, you know, come on, be more specific, because you can't change. You can't change the whole thing. You can, I guess, but it's much more effective if you can name it and break them down and use them properly. So big deal. Happiness is a choice. Most people think, wow, you know, I'm happy or I'm not happy. I'm unhappy. Well, you get to choose. Again, back to Viktor Frankl saying, you get to choose. You get to choose. So choose happiness, choose positivity, choose love, choose good stuff. Don't choose the bad stuff. If you're choosing the bad stuff, chances are that's a habit, and that's something you've been doing for a long, long time. Knock it off or change it, fix it. Choose something else. So it's a choice, and and because it's a choice, it gives you power and control over your life. That's a big deal, in my opinion. I guess I should breathe here once in a while. Spin it to win it. Spin it to win it is about that we have a thought, we go, like that, and we got this thought, and we go, you know what? That makes me feel like terrible. That thought made me feel terrible. I'm going to turn this slightly. I'm going to change my thought a little bit. You know, I'm mad at somebody, or well, like for me, you know, I have cancer right now, and I'm fighting this whole thing, and it's been going on. I now have it again, and I'm on 2 kinds of chemo. I just got them last night, and blah, blah, blah. And I could be really upset about that, and I could be really grumpy about it, and I can feel sorry for myself, and I can have all these awful thoughts. And sometimes I do. Sometimes it's real. You know, sometimes I feel awful. I feel scared. I am afraid. And so what I'm doing is spinning it, turn it slightly. Okay, well, I better make each moment count more. I better have the best relationships that I can. I better appreciate what I do have so far, because I don't know how long it's going to last. You know, that kind of stuff. And you can spin it just a little bit, and you can change it. And that, spin it to win it. And it makes me feel a lot better, makes me feel stronger. It makes me have better relationships, etc. So anyway, spin it to win it. Anything, you guys feel free to comment, stop me, interrupt, please. Go for it in the chat. I can see it now. So I did talk about feel it to win it, or that's the name of this subject. So I'm going to go into some about that. Some of the, thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. It's going well, by the way. I just got back on chemo 3rd month now, and the numbers are going back down. We caught it early again. I already had a stem cell transplant, and it worked really well. And now it was good for a couple years, and now it's back again, and numbers started rocketing again, and I'm going back down. So that's a wonderful thing. I just found out last night, and I was jumping up and down about that. I don't need to spin that one. That was an easy one. So, so part of this, in my opinion, based on how we've taught, my wife and I have taught a personal growth, intensive personal growth. I just got a high five from her. Workshop. It's a weekend intensive workshop. We go back in your childhood and we talk about the what you really feel and when you really started feeling the yucky stuff and when you shut down and when the depression started. And we're saying that when we're born with really high EQ, and it's pretty much downhill from there. It's kind of a negative way to look at it, but it's true, because some people go down really fast with abuse and violence and rejection and stuff in their home and blah blah blah. Some go down slowly, and your EQ kind of goes away and your feelings kind of shut down slowly and you kind of just don't talk about it anymore. And since we don't know about our feelings, our parents didn't teach us this stuff. It's not because they didn't like to, and it's not because they didn't care about us, because most parents care about their kids. Most of them, we've had some incredible stories about people that were awful to their kids, but most people like their kids and want the very best for their kids. And but they didn't know. Our parents didn't know. I've talked to my parents about this before, and they didn't know. They didn't know how to deal. I asked my dad, why didn't you ask me about what I was feeling? We moved all the time. He was in the Air Force, and we moved all the time. And and there was some times where we moved from Colorado, where I was all settled in and on the baseball team and doing fantastic, and at like 10, and we moved to Germany. And it was awful for me. I was like, I don't know anybody. People don't even speak my language. They don't want us to be here. I have no connections at all. And why didn't we talk about that? He said, hey, I didn't know anything about my feelings. I wouldn't know a feeling if it slapped me upside my head. He said, try me again. But my dad, his dad, my grandpa was a hard New York attorney from Brooklyn, and they mafia connected and all that stuff. He said, we didn't talk about feelings. What do you mean? How am I supposed to learn this stuff? So I've been trying to teach him, which is fun. And he's pretty open to it, which is even more fun. So anyway, so back to expressing feelings. This is how I do it. When I get down, and how we teach it is you get down, when you get angry, when you get sad, you feel them. You let yourself feel them. There's tons and tons of EQ stuff where people talk about only the science of it and only the understanding of it. Well, understanding it is cool, and it really, 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 really helps to express them, to feel them. You don't have to tell anybody, but you do, and you don't have to do it every single time. But at some point, in my opinion, in our opinion, and based on some science, which I'll be happy to share with you, if you can do it at least once, if you can, and what it boils down to is your sadness, your anger, and your fear. Those are the big three negatives. There's negative emotions. Sadness, anger, and fear are the big three negatives, and peace, love, and joy are the big three positives, in my opinion. But what happens is, and you don't have to go into it every time. You don't have to be, just a disaster each time you feel anything and anything happens to you in your life, and you're like, oh gosh, I'm so angry, or I'm so upset, and sit and bawl all the time. You don't have to do that. But you do have to do it once. You do have to do it once, in my opinion, at least once, because some of the stuff we get shut down. Some of the stuff we lose it as we're growing older, and we lose parts of ourselves, and we end up being actually afraid of ourselves. We're afraid of our own inner workings, and we're afraid of our feelings. And we don't understand them, and we don't like them. We got big judgments about them, and we don't feel safe, and so we don't go there, and we don't talk about them because nobody else talks about them. So we don't, especially the negative feelings, we don't talk about them. So they just get stuck, or they get mushed, or in with other ones, or they get to the point where you can't feel stuff. And you notice I didn't put depression in that fear, anger, and sadness, because depression is pretty much all three of the other negatives all glommed together in our experience. We've had people that were clinically depressed and hospitalized, cutting themselves, doing awful things to themselves, because they never expressed their feelings. So we said, okay, depression is not the problem. The problem is the underlying stuff underneath that, which would be, in my opinion, mostly anger and we try to mobilize their anger. If someone tells me I'm depressed, I go, great, what are you angry about? What are you angry about? Because depression equals anger plus powerlessness. Often, people who feel angry and think they can do something about it, like I do. I use anger as a positive motivator and a positive tool for myself to do stuff about stuff, to teach the world about EQ. But I don't. But that's because I can go there. I can use that as an effective tool for myself. Anger can be the most destructive, trashing feeling. Rage and all kinds of stuff. Anger has a very bad name, but anger can also be, if done properly, anger can be one of the most healing, the most powerful, the most motivating feelings there is. I'm a big advocate of people learning how to deal with their anger. And in our society, we do not like to deal with our anger. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to even admit it, even to ourselves, especially women. Oh, no, I'm not angry. I'm just hurt. Like, well, hurt is partly anger. It's fear, it's sadness plus anger. What are you angry about? And let yourself do that. And that empowers yourself. And it allows you to be real with yourself. It allows you to not be afraid of yourself. And it allows you to be able to express yourself in ways that you may not have been able to. It doesn't mean you go to your boss and go, I'm angry at you. Yeah, not a good idea. But if you're really in touch with your feelings, you go home, and you let yourself feel your anger and get it out of your system and take responsibility for it first, of course, and then get it out of your system. And then you go, okay, so now here, what are my choices? What can I do with this anger? Well, I think I will gently write an email and say, I was confused the other day because I thought you told me this, but I was doing this, that kind of thing. You can do it as a real calm. It can calm yourself down so you can take better actions and make better decisions and get better results. If you know how to deal with your anger and your fear and your sadness. Those three, I think I have a quote in here later that says, if you can deal with your anger, your fear, and your sadness, there just ain't much that life can throw at you that you can't handle. And that is a heck of a thing. So let's go back to the benefits. So here's the first one, self-confidence. You can, right? I'm not afraid of my anger anymore. I'm not afraid of my fear. I know I can deal with it. I know I can go there. If it gets real bad, I know I can deal with this stuff. Yesterday, I was crying like crazy because we found out some sad stuff. Our daughter's getting ready to have a baby next week, and she's having to go through a C-section. The baby's breech is upside down, and they went in twice and tried to turn it and tried to turn it, and that's just awful for her. Everything was going so well, but they're trying to turn it, and they were failed. So that means next Friday they're going to do a C-section, and she's scared about that. She doesn't want to have a big scar. She don't want to have get cut open. She was hoping for a real natural childbirth, and everything was going so well, and now it's not. It's not, but it's this whole thing got put in there. So anyway, I felt so much better. I just let myself cry after I got off the phone with her, and even on the phone with her, and so I can allow myself to do that, and it's a wonderful thing. So because I know I can, because I've done it over and over, and because I know it's not going to kill me. Oh, I should put in here a quote was, emotional pain is not terminal, right? Check it out. Emotional pain is not terminal. It will not kill you. You might decide to do some yucky stuff, but the pain itself is not terminal. You will live through it. So, you guys agree? Or say something in the chat and talk to me a little bit. All right, so here's another one, courage. That's what I said, I'm not afraid. You're not afraid of your own self. You're not afraid of your own feelings. You're not afraid of other people's feelings. How cool is that? So a lot of times people come at us, but guys are big on anger. Women seem to be bigger on hurt and sadness. They're allowed to cry. Guys are not allowed to cry, and so they do anger, and all the sports thing is all anger. But you can allow your own self. You don't have to be afraid of your own self, and you don't have to be afraid of other people's feelings. In fact, and you make more sense. I don't think that's in here. You make more sense, and other people make more sense. You look at them and go, I see that they're coming at it. This looks like anger, but it's not. It's fear. I can see the fear underneath the anger. And if you look carefully, if you know about you, chances are you'll know more about them and what's happening inside of them. And it makes for much better relationships, and it makes for people making more sense. And it gives you hope. It gives you the ability to go, yeah, well, I guess life isn't that bad. It can be scary, but it's understandable at the same time. So you can do courage. Flexibility. Susan David put this, wrote a book called Emotional Agility. That's a wonderful word. I love that term. Agility. You can dance, you can move, you can be flexible, you can have your boss yell at you and you can think of something else, right? You can go home and deal with your anger and come back and be flexible and handle it a little bit differently. I still have a day job, and I talked to my boss this morning, and she said, something kind of negative, and I came back with, I see where you were confused, da 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 da, and she was like, okay, cool, thank you for explaining that. So we have some agility, some movement, some flexibility, some abilities to handle things differently, better, make better choices, as I've been saying over and over. I'm going to keep saying it. Positive psychology. You guys know about positive psychology. You can get now a master's and a PhD in positive psychology. It's a real thing. It's at the University of Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful, beautiful subject. And these are some of their favorite words and some of my favorite words. Resilience. Resilience is wonderful, right? Bad stuff happens to you. What do you do about it? What are you going to do about it? You have choices, so you have resilience. Persistence. That's one of my specialties, in fact. Is to just keep going. Let yourself, make yourself, motivate yourself, keep going. What's stuff really important to you, keep going, keep doing it. Make it until you get it right? Somebody said, you don't stop fighting until you can't fight anymore. That's persistence. And my favorite is a new word, which is, there's a number of books now. I collect EQ books, and I've got a number of them. Grit. Grit is a wonderful thing. You remember True Grit with John Wayne a long time ago, and that was a pretty cool movie back in the day. But grit is just that, yeah, it was hard, and yeah, this is painful, and yeah, it hurts, and you know what? I'm doing it anyway. That's grit, and that's a beautiful subject. I love that. So see if you can add some grit to your life and those around you. So you guys heard of grit? That's a good one. Resolve limiting beliefs, okay? There's what happens, and I was going to do a whole thing on this too, but I ran out of time, is that when as a kid, bad stuff happens to us, we then use our left brain to try and make some sense of it. We use our right brain where the feelings get stuck inside of us, and we do limiting beliefs like, I'm not lovable, or I don't fit in, or I am powerless, stuff like that. And they're big, they're thoughts. Those are thoughts, not feelings. Those are thoughts, but they create big, big feelings, right? And what we do in our class is we help people go into, we call it event, meaning, feeling, behavior. Events happen, stuff happens. We moved to Germany, like I said, and what that meant, what I thought was, everybody was leaving. All my friends left, right? Well, I left them. They didn't leave me, but I thought I was unlovable. I decided that that I was nobody wanted me around. So became a limiting belief, and I ended up basing my life on that. And it's kind of a subconscious, underneath everything, day-to-day kind of thing. And what I found out by taking this a class similar to mine, and why I jumped on to teaching this for the last bunch of years, is that the feelings are the glue that keep those beliefs in place. If I can deal with my anger and my sadness, and I was so hurt about all that, and my fear of what was going to happen next, if I can deal all that, then I don't have to keep that belief. I don't have to keep that unconscious belief going, and I can say, well, it's not that I am unlovable. It's, sometimes I leave or they leave, one or the other. It doesn't really have that much to do with me. So I can depersonalize it, we call it, and not make it into that it's my thing, it's my fault, I'm the problem, etc. Kids are great observers of what's happening, but they're not very good at interpreting what the conclusion is that. And so we go, well, it must be me. If my parents are fighting, that must be me, right? Well, no, it probably has nothing to do with you. But if you decided that as a kid, it tends to stick with you. Have you guys had that experience? So feelings are the glue that keeps our belief systems in place. Another big one is that when we get hurt, we separate, we become apart, we feel alone, and that's no fun. Yeah, thoughts create feelings, right? And that's we disconnect basically, and from ourselves and from others. And by removing some of the pain, why you express some of these feelings is that it allows you to reconnect. We get like this this thick, heavy muck around our hearts. Our pain it gets dark. We have people do you guys know about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. You go in and show me, where's the pain in your body? Where is it? Where are you carrying it? If you didn't believe those beliefs, and if you didn't need them or use them for you, if they weren't doing you some good, which is kind of weird that pain can do you good, then you wouldn't be carrying it. So where is it? Where is it in your body? What size is it? What does it look like? How? What color is it? What's the consistency of it? How, all that kind of stuff. Grab a hold of it, and you can either hand it to me, you can drop it, you can turn it into snowflakes, whatever you want to. It's your imagination. Do you want that pain inside of you anymore? Once you identify it, which is name it to tame it kind of thing, then you can change it, which is spin it to win it, right? You can let go of it. You can heal your own feelings. So anyway, you can reconnect because your heart is then more open again. And one of our biggest choices, one of our biggest abilities is to be able to open our heart and close our heart as much as we want, anytime we want. That's a big deal. And it's one of our most important skills of emotional agility, in my opinion. So again, you can let go of stuff, let it flow, then let it go. The other one I like is, what is it? Get in, get it out, and get on. I like that. Get in and get it out. Get it out of your body, and then get on. So it's real simple. If you're sad, cry. If you're angry, growl. Be angry for a minute and just let your body feel that stuff, and then let your body release it, and the stress goes with, and the pain goes with, and you can be fresh and clean and do things right. Susan, it is what it is. It is what you make it. Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's what you decided that it is. It's your perception of it and what you're doing with it, what you're taking with it. Right on. Totally agree. So as I mentioned earlier, you get some understanding. You can know yourself from the inside out. You can know others from the inside out. It helps significantly. Self-esteem, you know who you are and what you care about. Your feelings are what you care about. What really matters to you are all in your feelings. Those aren't necessarily thoughts. Those are feelings. What do you care about? Who do you love? What do you love? What are you mad about? What are you sad about? Those are all about me. And if I know what I feel, I can know what I want and who I am. That's a big, big deal, in my opinion. Acceptance, accept your feelings, accept yourself, same deal. And boom, bottom line to the whole thing, love really is the answer. Love often is covered with pain. It's covered with anger. We close up and we disconnect, and it's not fun. You want to be loved more, deal with your pain. You want to feel loved, you want to feel loving, deal with your pain, and then open your hearts more and trust some more. So here's a study. I'm going to go through this quickly because I'm running out of time. A study on emotional episodes showed the following benefits to sharing your feeling. Okay, do you guys know the difference between complaining and venting? There's a huge, huge difference between complaining and venting. Complaining is, this happened to me, and I'm negative, and it's not my fault, and I just feel awful, but it's kind of whiny, and it's kind of blaming, and it's kind of powerless, and all that. That's complaining is not helpful, and usually the other person feels as bad as you do when you're done, and you don't feel any better afterward. But venting, on the other hand, is like magic. Venting is about dealing with the feeling, taking full responsibility for it, and saying, no, I feel this way, and so I'm going to release this feeling. It's now mine, and I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to manage it, and I'm going to let it go, and then everybody feels better, and you get much better results. So If you share your feelings, you can get help and support and comfort from others. Legitimizes you. You can get some feedback from others. Hopefully it's positive, maybe negative, but hopefully you can, these are your friends and people that you feel safe with, and you say, this is what I'm feeling. They go, yeah, wow, I had that same problem, or I can understand that. And it allows you to connect with them that way. And it makes things so you're not in your own little world where you're just sitting there in pain by yourself. That's no fun. Clarifies it, gives you some meaning. Sometimes you can ask for advice and perspective from others. You might, I'm getting ready to do this. What do you think? And they're like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But you can ask for advice or not. And get some perspective on what's happening with you. Connection and bonding, I already talked about that. That's a huge part of the whole thing. Getting some empathy from others feels really, really good. Sympathy and empathy are very, very different, but they're similar. You might check on what's the difference between those. Sympathy is I feel sorry for you. Empathy is I feel sorry with you, which is very different. And it's both very powerful. Feel a need. We all need attention. I think Dr. Davidson said earlier that we do a lot of, or no, Shanae said we were going to do the negative acting out usually to draw attention to ourselves. Well, if you be more real about it and you actually share your feelings, then you're getting that attention. It's up to you because it's emotional responsibility. It's up to you, right? So, and then most movies, most books, and most stories and such are about feelings. If you look at it, they're to elicit feelings and to help you feel and to adjust those and that sort of thing. And so feelings are very entertaining. I mean, in a positive way, sometimes in a negative way, but they are very entertaining. So you can get some enjoyment out of that. Here's what I said earlier. If you can handle your own fear and your sadness and your anger, your real bottom line fear and anger and sadness, some of the biggest stuff that it's feel inside of you, there just ain't much that life can throw at you that you can't handle. That's the ultimate self-trust and confidence and self-esteem. It's a huge thing. That's a very simple sentence, but it is not easy. It is not easy. So good luck with that. You guys agree? It's some of this is really hard. But it's real simple. It's just hard as heck to do. So let me talk quick about the magic. This is where I really care about is the magic of EQ. Check this out. This is, again, a study. It's numerous studies actually combined together. People who live a positive versus a negative lifestyle, I guess that means that you are in touch with your feelings as opposed to not, make more money, have better relationships, increase quality of life, kind of obvious to us, right? Have less diseases. That's a big deal. That is a very big deal. Enjoy their work life more. And whoa, look at that one. This is they actually live longer. One study showed 7 to 20 years longer. As much as smoking, it makes as much difference as smoking if you're an EQ or what I call them or not, or you're a grump or not, or you're positive or you're negative. I've had a number of nurses and doctors tell me that when I was in the hospital, there's like, you know what, we've had people with the same diagnosis, same age, same basic health to you, and they were negative and grumpy and feeling sorry for themselves, and they didn't heal very well, and they were amazed at how fast I was able to heal. And they said, quote, it's because of your attitude. It's because of your attitude, and that attitude is everything, Dr. Phil says, and attitude is totally in our choice, totally in our control. No matter what's happening, our attitude is in our control, 100% in our control, and that's a very big deal, right? So more, since we cannot not think, I said this, we cannot not feel. EQ is the most practical subject there is every second of every day, so EQ is a big deal. So I mentioned this was in the beginning about this whole thing was that I have 3 basic steps to EQ, and I think Shanae mentioned the same thing, and that is that awareness is a super huge part of this. You first got to be aware. You can't do anything. We cannot make logical decisions on stuff if we're not aware of them first. If you don't know what you're feeling, if you don't know who you are, then how are you supposed to do anything, right? Second, then this is a huge one, is acceptance. Acceptance. It only takes a second. It only takes less than that if you're good at it. And you can accept if you accept, yeah, I am angry. Yeah, I am sad. Yeah, I am afraid. Yeah, whatever it is, just yeah. Or you can fight it and deny it and drink over it and drug over it and do all this kind of other stuff if you don't accept it. But if you just do, it's a simple thing again, but it's sometimes not very easy. So be aware, yep, and accept is like, oh yeah. And then next one is that this is choice time. We can take action based on what we just became aware of and accepted or not. And that is our choice. That's a big deal. We can express our feelings or not. At work, it maybe not a great idea. With your kids, maybe, and you're really angry with them, maybe it's not a great idea right that time. Maybe it's you take the action and you make a conscious decision to not deal with it right now. I'll deal with it later. That's our choice, and that's a wonderful thing. So here's real quick, a little expanded to what we do in class to changing negative feelings into positive. Same thing again, awareness first. Oh, yep. Okay, name it kind of thing. To accept it. All right, got it. Identify it. Awareness is just I'm feeling something, but identification more specific. What are you feeling? 4, expression or not, and then you can release it, let it go. You can replace it once that space is gone. You can replace it with, we do like a color or your higher power giving you whatever feelings you want, or what do you want to put in there now that you have a space and you let go of your anger and you let go of that around your heart. What do you want to put in there? That's up to you, and you can replace it. And then of course you don't gotta, but celebrate, woo-hoo, rejoice. It's a wonderful thing. So this is even a little bit even more specific. So outside of us, to make our lives work, outside of us, stuff happens, right? We get out of bed every morning and stuff happens. It just does. That's outside. It could be even inside, because sometimes I can't get out of bed and because stuff's going on inside of me, blah, blah, blah. But events happen. So next is, we will feel what we feel about those events, and we will think what we think about those events. We just do. We are going to have thoughts, and we are going to have feelings, whether you like it or not. Right? Boom. It's just happening. So those are not optional. Third, now this all 4, 5, and 6, and 7 are all inside of us completely. Awareness. Yes. I'm aware of what's happening. Mindfulness, understanding, consciousness, all those good words are about awareness. Acceptance. Yes, that is what I'm feeling. Yes, I understand. Yes, I'm okay with that. Yes, I do have feelings. I am a human and I do have feelings, and that's what I do. So I can accept those. Third, we look at our thoughts and our feelings, and then we evaluate them. Okay, all right, was this a good idea? Is this what I'm going to do? And then we decide. We make decisions based on our evaluation of that. Kids a lot of times are spontaneous and they don't evaluate very much, but hopefully we'll evaluate a little bit, and then we make a conscious decision on what are we going to do about it. Next, we take some action or we don't take some action. That's up to us. We get to take some action or not. A bunch of actions become our behaviors, and who we are, what we become, what we do. Those are our behaviors, and of course, all our behaviors create our life results, and whether things work for us or not. So just real basic breakdown. So what I'm saying about this whole thing, I only have a few more minutes, is that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Aristotle said. What we're trying to do, we used to call it EQ training, but now it's even more is EQ education, because we're putting it in schools, we're putting it in into businesses, we're putting it into home, all kinds of things. Educate. This is a little bit severe. Aristotle said it's no education at all. I disagree with that, but you get the point, is that educating the heart is just as important as educating the mind. IQ plus EQ equals smiley face, equals LOL, whatever you want. It equals happiness, however you want to do it, but you need both, in my opinion. And EQ education is the key to the whole thing. So I'll go through this real quick. This is something I just kind of made up. So EQ is it teaches us about emotional responsibility, right? That it's up to us. Our thoughts and our feelings are yours. And if we can be emotionally responsible, that leads to personal responsibility. We can take care of our stuff. We can do self-love. We can do self-care. We can pay our bills. We can do our stuff to take care of our things. So if we want to feel good, we better take care of our stuff, right? Well, then personal responsibility leads to social responsibility, which means I better learn how to work and play well with others. I better learn how to work on a team. Hardly anybody has a job that they don't have to work with other people at some extent. We better figure out how to be socially responsible. Socially responsible means can lead to social reform. And that is that things are changing in the world, and we are becoming more socially responsible, and that's changing things. And ultimately, this will lead to world peace, in our opinion, in my theory, in my work. And that's what we're going for. Inner peace leads to interpersonal peace, which leads to social peace, which hopefully will lead to world peace. So here's what I would like for you guys. This is what I do. Each one teach one EQ, which means tell somebody about EQ. Anybody, a little kid, like I said, your mom, your next door neighbor, somebody at work, anybody who's interested in it. Doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter what age. It doesn't matter anything. Just teach them about what you know about EQ. Just do, please. And we're trying to create as many materials as we can for you to make that easier. EQ rocks, that's what I call it. So teach EQ education worldwide. I'm starting a nonprofit called, I think it's on here. Here we go. EQ4Peace.org. I just did the website and Facebook and LinkedIn pages the other day. And what we're doing is teaching emotional intelligence in other countries. Well, in the United States and other countries. Is a picture of the fellow, the American fellow down the bottom is the Dean of Peace, Dean Van Leuven. They've taught like 7,000 kids in Nepal. They've taught in India. They've taught he's going next week to Bangladesh because a university there wants to teach it. A number of universities there. There's universities in India. There's in UK, in Ethiopia, etc. They are saying, wow, they're new. Ethiopia just mentioned. I read yesterday that they have a new minister of peace, in Ethiopia, where they have massive fighting, and they have for generations. They have they have a minister of peace. So does Nepal, and so does Dubai, and it's happening. And Google has a chief happiness officer, and SAP, if you know who they are, SAP, that one of the biggest computer database companies in the world, has a director of mindfulness. How cool is that? And I just love this stuff. So if we as a nonprofit can help people teach the world EQ, and on any levels, formal or informal, we can help people create EQ education. If you're willing to do it, we'll help you do it. Bottom line. So last slide, boom, boom. This is just some stuff about me, the workshop that we teach on Facebook. Here's the EQ4Peace.org and my phone number if you want, and Facebook, and blah, 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 and mattperlstein.com. I think that's the last one. So anyway, I did it. 4 minutes to spare. So I hope that was helpful. I hope I didn't go too fast. Sometimes I get sick of listening to myself talk, but I love this subject, and I want everybody, and especially people like you, to do what we can. So anyway, talk to me. Comments are great. If you have questions, that'd be great. It's up to you.
There are a couple comments in the chat.
Okay.
All about how everybody just loves your enthusiasm.
I should loosen up a little, huh? Okay. Excellent. Thanks, you guys. This is wonderful. Yeah, I'd be happy to tell you more about the workshop if you want. Let's see if there's other questions if you want. Are you going to cut off right at the top of the hour, Inez?
Yes, I think we should. So
okay.
We can take a couple more minutes, and then
okay.
You can turn over sharing back to me.
Okay. Well, the question is about, can you tell us more about the workshops you have? Yes, we've been teaching them, like I said, 30 years, my wife and I, and some other people that we've taught how to teach them. We do them in California. We've done them in Washington. We've done them in Utah, mostly in California right now. It's a weekend, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. It is based on emotions. Shockingly, it's called New Directions. It is It is about going back in childhood to some extent and finding out what are your thoughts and what are your feelings. What are you doing with them? What are you living on now? We basically say on Friday night, we don't need all the details. We don't need all the details. It's about the thoughts and the feelings. What did you sum up from all of this? What are you taking with you? How can we help you relieve that stuff? How can we help you expand it and break out of some of the limits that you put on yourself? How can you use this information for yourself and for the people you know and care about in the future, so that you can change your life? And we've had some incredible results. We have testimonials just on, and I've got hundreds of testimonials from people that said, and including I think I have 17 of them that say basically, and people that came up to us, to our face, and said, this saved my life, and very literally has. They were getting ready. We had one fellow he said, this is it. Monday morning, I'm done. If this doesn't work, I'm done. He had a shotgun under his bed and he was done. And he didn't. And that's pretty cool for 20 years later. And so, anyway.
That's fantastic. There's just one comment here from Carl before we go. How do we relate to anyone that's alleging to be Stoic, or does that idea of being a Stoic
Yeah, it's effective. Yeah, it's effective for them, or else they wouldn't be doing it. So what's the point of that? You could go through some of the stuff of some of the benefits of not being Stoic. You can ask them, what are you getting out of this? What is it? What are you protecting? One of our biggest questions. What you protect, you make weak, we call it. We have a sign up on the wall. What you protect, you make weak. So if you're protecting your emotions, if you're protecting yourself, you're actually making yourself weak, and you don't have the flexibility and the agility to be all the things that you could be if you're shutting all that down. So,
wow, I love that. What you protect, you make weak. That's good.
Yeah, some things we need to protect, the babies and that sort of thing. That's a different story, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about protecting emotionally.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Okay, Dr. Hank, you're on, buddy.
You can return sharing, and then I'll put the slide back up. Thank you so much, Matthew. That was fantastic.
Thanks, Karen. Or Carl. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Susan. It's fun.
Now you can breathe.
Yeah, I'll breathe later. Too important.
I just want to say thank you, Matt. That was really good. That energy came through as always, as usual. And so now all of those EQIs out there know why I kind of hang out with Matt a lot, because, we need that, we need the enthusiasm, and I really appreciate him, giving up his time and to be on the show today.
Yeah, you should listen to Dr. Hank's show on Mondays. It's I think I've been on it 5 times now, and I just love it. And we have great conversations, and he has some great guests. So
yes, and for those of you that don't know, we have the radio show called The Dr. Hank Show, or Let's Talk EI, and it's all about talking about emotional intelligence. But today was sort of like a special day. We want to make sure that, others that are not tuned in or are not aware of the Society of Emotional Intelligence got to hear a little bit about what goes on within the Society of Emotional Intelligence, or about Society of Emotional Intelligence, by hearing some of the people who are involved in the Society of Emotional Intelligence. So if you're not a member, we'd love for you to become a member, and you can go to our website, societyofei.org, and become a member. Also, just to repeat that, said that we're coming up on our annual conference, which will be April 5th and 6th in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. It's going to be at the Florida Conference Hotel, and we might even say amusement center, because there's a lot of amusement parks and stuff like that around the Florida Hotel and Conference Center. But again, thanks everyone. If you have any questions or comments that our speakers didn't get a chance to respond to today, then just send them to me. You can send them to hankclemens@gmail.com. That's hankclemens@gmail.com. or societyofei@gmail.com. Either one, those questions get to me. I'll make sure that I get them to the speaker. So thanks again, everyone. I appreciate it. I'm going to turn it back to our moderator, Ms. Inez Jordan, who's been so delightful in working with us today. So Inez, you got it.
Well, no, I just want to say thank you again to all of our presenters today. Lynn, Shanae, Matt did an excellent job. Thanks to all the people who stuck with us through the 3 hours and for all of their participation and questions. And it was great today. This worked out really nice. And thanks to Matt for wrapping it up really nicely for us. So with that, let's see, we're at the top of the hour. So thanks everybody for joining, and we're going to call it a day. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Inez. Thank you, Dr. Hank.
Bye.